Okay, I know I say this a lot because I have a lot of favorite books, but today we're going to talk about The Price of Freedom, and really, just get it. Calvin Coolidge is one of those presidents that's so overlooked. He was quiet, he was called Silent Cal, and there's starting to be kind of a revolution about how incredible he was because he was so principle-based, but he's so little known and little discussed, and he's not, you look up in the encyclopedia under presidents and it lists them all, and it's got the 5 or 6 that were the great presidents, and he's not one of them, but you know what? I think he was. I think it was one of the greatest presidents we ever had, and I want to do an author bio on him because I want you to know more about him as an individual, all the incredible things he did and all the levels of office. But this is The Price of Freedom. It's a collection of speeches and addresses. I've tried to find any of these individually online, and you know what? I can't find them to give them to you. And part of the reason for that is because, he was a 20th century president, and so this really isn't public domain stuff yet. So there's a 1924 edition, and so maybe some of these started to be printed first then. This is Fredonia Books in Amsterdam has actually printed this copy that I've got, and it's called The Price of Freedom because that's one of his speeches, and probably the compiler felt that it was his best speech, but it also encapsulates so much of what he was about, because he has some really common themes throughout his speeches, and freedom is really a central one. And what he wants to say is that freedom isn't free, that there's a price of freedom. And one of the reasons that I love this collection of speeches is because education, and for him, liberal education or classical education, reading the great stuff, was the price of freedom. In many of his speeches and addresses, he comes full circle to talk about education in some way and to talk about it as a solution. Sometimes it's almost the solution. Although I would have to say, probably for him, the solution is a moral code. Adherence to goodness and morality. That's something that he talks about a lot. He talks about the moral ideals, and those are the concepts, the principles that undergird an education. For him, if your education didn't make you a better individual, like we talk about here at the Ten Boom Institute all the time, then it really was worthless. Not worthless, but it could be dangerous. I mean, it could be worse than not having an education, to be armed with an education that you use the wrong way. And so, he really is a huge proponent of everything that we stand for here. I mean, we probably could have called it the Coolidge Institute because he stands for everything that the Ten Boom stood for, and he was that kind of person. There are a few other themes throughout these writings. A few of them are ideals, also progress. A document that I'll talk about here, I don't know, sometime in the future, is the Progressive Party platform. That would be really fascinating, actually, to read with some of these speeches. That was being put together about this time, and it's a really interesting document. We talk about progressives all the time today, and at the turn of the century, in the 20s and the 30s, that party was being put together. It didn't really emerge as a party in and of itself, but it emerged as an ideology. It emerged as a way of thinking about yourself and about society and about government. And I think it was trying to be some kind of balancing act between kind of capitalist principles and socialist principles. I don't know. It's really kind of interesting. But he talks about progressivism a lot. What it means to be a progressive, what progress is. And he's a big proponent of progress. He says all the time, we want to progress. Of course we want to progress. But we don't want to progress at the expense of the moral foundation that got us where we want to be. This is one of my favorite speeches in this collection, is called Thought, the Master of Things. There are several that I love, and I'll make a list for you of my favorite speeches, and you could just get the book and start with those. But Thought the Master of Things is one of my favorites. It was given to the American Classical League in 1921. And this is how it begins, and it has everything to do with what we do here, so I want to quote it for you. We have come here today in defense of some of the great realities of life. We come to continue the guarantee of progress in the future by continuing a knowledge of progress in the past. So if we want to continue to progress, that requires that we build on information and truths and knowledge from the past. Therefore, the more we know about the past, the faster we can progress in the future, because we can stand on the shoulders of giants. We can build on those that have gone before us. And we can learn what they knew and then innovate and create, as we have done through the 20th century. Technology has just blown, everyone away. It's amazing because we'll sit there and use a computer as we marvel that it even works. So definitely progress is happening, and for Coolidge, progress will work to the extent at which it builds on what's true and real in the past. Not just the scientific discoveries, but everything. So let me continue, because he goes on here. We come to proclaim our allegiance to those ideals, and ideal is another term he uses a lot. What does he mean by ideals? Look for these themes. I'll post them up for you. Look for the ideas that he promotes. Ideals is one of them. What does he mean by ideals, and why are ideals important? He holds them up, and he says they're very important for our progress. So we come to proclaim our allegiance to those ideals which have made the predominant civilization of the earth. So he is clear that America is wealthier, it's progressing faster, especially than any other nation in the world. What has put America on the top? What are the ideals that we were aiming for that got us where we are? Let's not lose sight of those. Let's not forget who we are. We come because we believe that thought is the master of things. I love that. And I love that especially because my own personal mission statement is from Schweitzer. I stand and work in the world as one who aims at making men morally better and less shallow by making them think. I truly believe that we can be better individuals because we think. And that is what Coolidge is saying, and I love him for saying it. But I also love him because, and this is why I'll do an author bio for you, his life was a reflection of what he taught. He was true to what he taught. And he was a man of true character in that sense, who I really look up to. We come because we believe that thought is the master of things. Not just the master of things in progress, but the master of things because it's through thought that we create and become. We come because we realize that the only road to freedom lies through a knowledge of the truth. Couldn't have said it better. Absolutely spot on, okay? Just know that. He knows what he's talking about. The only road to freedom lies through a knowledge of the truth. The truth shall make you free. You build character by thinking and applying the truths that you learn. It's how it works. Very simple formula. And we can be free. We can increase our freedom through the truth that we live. And America was free because it was disciplined. And there's a lot of other quotes I could give you about that. Mankind have always had classics. They always will. That is only another way of saying that they have always set up ideals and always will. Always the question has been, always the questions will be, what are those ideals to be? What are to be the classics? So of course, I really think you should read this speech because it's really fantastic. And there's several others. The Price of Freedom is very good. The Needs of Education, fabulous. Also, The Power of the Moral Law. And then at the end, there is The Things That Are Unseen would be fantastic. And let me look this up really quickly because I think this is the one that he wrote as a student. Yes, this is... I think these are the ones that he wrote as a... I can't remember. No, Calvin senior year at Amherst. That's a prize essay. The things that are unseen, read it with Bastiat's What is Seen, What is Not Seen. So good together. And talk about what's unseen, what it means for things to be unseen, what it means to look for the things that are unseen, and what that has to do with principles and truth and ideals and progress and everything we've been talking about. So, so good. The prize essay is good. A Message to the Legislature of Massachusetts is super good when he was governor. So I'll post those up for you, the ones that I really think that you will greatly enjoy. But if you're anything like me, you will find yourself in the pages of these books. You'll identify with Coolidge and what he's teaching, and you'll feel invigorated, enlightened, enlivened, and it just makes me want to be good. It just makes me want to do what I know I'm supposed to do. Just, I don't know, if I just want to punch, I just get out my Coolidge and read a speech. So this is a collection of speeches, The Price of Freedom by Calvin Coolidge, and I just can't say enough about how wonderful it is, and you really ought to have it in your library. If this has been helpful information, please pass it on to a friend. Please like us on Facebook. Join our email list so that you can get all the updates about all the great programs that we're developing and reading programs that will be released in the future and other great stuff we've got going on. Join our free book discussions and build yourself through the classics. Build your character through the classics, and Coolidge will help you do that. See you next time.